Hey, it's James Lynch. So turns out Ilia Topuria did do some media at the UFC Qatar event. Obviously, his brother Alex Topuria fought on the card. And shout out to the journalist who did this interview. I've mentioned him before on this stream here, Alvaro Colmenero. Hope I'm saying that right. I've actually met him in person. Great guy, but he's one of the guys that's really plugged in with Ilia Topuria. Anyways, the point of this video is Ilia Topuria talking about his next move. And we're going to watch this clip here, courtesy of Championship Rounds, where Ilia Topuria, and there's a translation here so you guys can just follow along on the subtitles, talking about what is going to be next. And I'm going to give my thoughts on that in a second here. So let's watch this clip from Alvaro. Who does Ilia Topuria want to fight next? I have Paddy on my mind. I'd like to fight Paddy. If they don't let me, I'll move up to welterweight to fight Islam. Because that's a fight I'd really like to see against Islam in the third weight class. So I talked about this last week. I mean, that's the clip basically. It's just a little clip there. That's the key thing though. Topuria now saying, and we've heard this before, and I know there's going to be people watching this video being like, this is old news, nothing new. Well, it's new news in the sense that we now had Arman coming off a win, right? If you remember before, the whole argument was, you know, Arman wasn't getting the next title shot because of what happened at UFC 311. He needed to get another fight. And the idea, I think most people thought, was after Ilia Topuria beat Charles Oliveira, we would see Topuria defend his lightweight title against someone else, and then Arman would fight the winner. Well, guess what? Ilia Topuria is not booked yet. So, and Arman just came off a win right now. Now, I'm not saying that fight with Arman and Ilia Topuria should happen like right away. I think Arman would have to wait. I think Ilia would want a full camp. This is something I mentioned on my video yesterday, where I think that, you know, Topuria was probably helping his brother. And Topuria, if I had to guess, I already said this in the video yesterday, like, I don't think he's fighting on the Paramount card. So I think they're going to push him to either the spring or the summer of next year. That's enough time for Arman to have his fight. But you can see here, clear as day, he's still doubling down in the Paddy Pimblett fight. And I think that's ridiculous. Paddy Pimblett does not deserve this title shot, especially now in the context of you have an Arman Tsarukyan coming off a big win over Dan Hooker in the Qatar main event last week. He's ready to go. He's the guy that deserves the title shot. He's in the prime of his career. He's actually missed a good chunk of his last year and a bit because of this whole fiasco at UFC 311, which again is his fault, right? No one's fault to blame here. He gets this fight in 2025, but I don't think there's anyone out there, like, you guys tell me in the comments, like, there's no one more deserving of this lightweight title shot than Arman Tsarukyan. So then you hear Topuria say, after this, okay, well, I'd like to fight Paddy, but if they don't let me, move up to welterweight. I talked about this being an issue that a lot of people aren't talking about. I don't think the UFC is just going to let Ilia Topuria move up another weight class. It's not typically how it works. They'd have to then do a vacant title. It really messes up the division. Topuria should be the champion in that weight class. Not to mention, welterweight's crowded right now. I talked about this as well. After Islam got his win over Jack Della Maddalena, there's an absolutely huge logjam right now at 170. You've got, we're thinking maybe it's going to be Kamaru Usman next, which I've been vocal about this. I don't think he deserves the shot. I mean, let's go look at the rankings right now and look at our options for potential title challengers at 170. Let's look at this, right? So Jack just lost, Bilal lost. Michael Morales has a case. He's undefeated. He just knocked out Sean Brady. He's got a case. Shavkat Rakhmonov, people are going to say, oh, he's had the layoff. Well, I said this before. If you think Kamaru Usman deserves a title shot, then I don't think there's much of a difference here with Shavkat because, Kamaru Usman missed all of 2024. He fought once this year. Kamaru Usman's fought once in the last 2 years. He's not going to fight against this year, so that'll be 2 years. He's had one fight. How's that any difference than Shavkat? Not to mention Shavkat undefeated. Shavkat Morales, all in the mix as far as I'm concerned. You could also make an argument for Carlos Prates as well, knocking out former champion Leon Edwards. You've got Ian Gary beating Bilal Muhammad. He has a case as well. And then there's Usman, obviously, who's the former champ and, is coming off a win over Joaquin Buckley this year, but I would not put him as the next title challenger. My point is, if Topuria moves up, that screws everything up in the division because now you've got all these waiting contenders that will have to wait even longer. So I don't think the UFC wants to do that. I think the UFC wants the Islam and Ilia Topuria fight, but I don't think they want that fight to happen at 170. I would think they want that at 155, just my guess here, but it doesn't seem like Islam is going to be moving back down to 155 anytime soon. So like I said in that video I did last week, I don't think Ilia and Islam is going to happen just because I don't think the timing is going to work out between the two of them. And I don't think the UFC is just going to let Ilia move up another weight class. Like, I know we've had fighters that haven't defended their titles and have, moved up. That's one thing. But to move up 2 weight classes, like again, Topuria, he won the title over Volk. He beats Max and then he moves up and now he's beat Charles and now he's moving up again. Like, I just can't see them doing that, especially when you have a division that's this crowded. And then back to the Paddy Pimblett thing. Like, he doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry, he doesn't. I've mentioned this before. Like I said, I understand where the UFC was coming from previously when Arman wasn't getting the next shot. And then, obviously they're going more for like the marketing side of things, personality side of things. That's why Paddy's getting it. But Paddy's best win is Michael Chandler. And I don't even think that's a win that's aged very well in terms of, again, I don't know what Chandler is at this point. I don't think he's much of a contender in the weight class. So if you're looking at the wins previous to that, King Green, again, almost close to the end. Tony Ferguson's not in the UFC. Jared Gordon's not a contender. Jordan Levitt, Rodrigo Vargas. Like, this isn't like Paddy should have to fight someone in that top 5. And he hasn't done that yet. Again, if we rewind a little bit, before Arman, fought Dan Hooker, there was an argument of, okay, we'll keep Ilia active. You can give him Paddy Pimblett. I was okay with that. I still didn't think Paddy deserved the title shot, but I understood that, hey, you want to keep Ilia active. Well, guess what? That fight was at the end of June between Ilia and Charles Oliveira, and he hasn't fought the rest of the year. So now, to me, the Paddy fight should be off the table. It should be Arman next. And Arman even came out and said after this win that he's healthy, he's ready to go. That's the fight they should make. My thing that that just is really annoying about this whole thing, like, I understand, maybe in Ilia's eyes, he feels like Paddy's the better contender, but it's not looking good if you're not willing to take on all comers. I think that Ilia is going to be losing fans by doing this, by refusing to fight Arman Tsarukyan. And again, I know people will say he's mentioned this before, that he doesn't want to fight Arman. At the end of the day, the UFC makes the fights. I think we could almost see like a stalemate here, or the UFC caves and he does end up fighting Paddy, which would be a terrible look when you have a more deserving contender here in Arman Tsarukyan who's ready to go and ready to fight. And after what we saw last weekend, I want to see that fight more. And I don't think I'm alone here. And nothing against Paddy Pimblett, but how many people out there would be picking Paddy Pimblett against Ilia Topuria? I don't think he wins. I think it's way too much of a jump up going from Michael Chandler to him. We've also seen Paddy have some issues with strikers. He's been hit before. Let's go look at the striking defense stats, right? If you go take a look at them. Paddy Pimblett, 42% striking defense. How do you think that's going to play out against one of the best strikers in the UFC? Someone that has knocked out Alex Volkanovski, Max Holloway. It's not going to end well. To me, it's a very predictable fight. I think, anything can happen in a matchup. We've seen upsets happen before, but if they were to do a betting line on Paddy and Ilia, I would have Ilia at like minus 500. Like, I really see a very very small window path to victory here for Paddy Pimblett in this fight. Whereas Arman Tsarukyan, Ilia, I think would still be favored, but it would be a much closer fight on the odds. In fact, I think I did see some odds pop up here that had Ilia at like I think like a 2-1 favorite, which whatever, I'm okay with because Ilia can knock out anyone. But I think overall, Arman is the more well-rounded fighter. So yeah, I just, seeing this it annoys me more than anything. We already talked yesterday about how Ilia's not going to be fighting on the Paramount card. Not 100% official, but certainly looking that way. I mean, this doesn't look like a guy who's in camp right now preparing for a fight in January. Again, at the time of recording this, we got, just under 2 months that Paramount card's going to happen. So unless he's bolting back and doing a camp, I don't think that happens. And yeah, I just think it's unfortunate because I think Ilia Topuria won a lot of people over with him beating Charles, with him winning 2 titles in the UFC. Obviously got the invite to Real Madrid. He's one of the biggest UFC superstars. It's another thing I was arguing with people in the comments yesterday, people talking about, oh, who cares that he got invited by Real Madrid? That's a huge deal. Like, you don't see any average athlete get the invite to Real Madrid. That makes him a global superstar just by him, being in that position and being able to get that opportunity. But he's going to lose fans here by doing this. Like, that he's so adamant on fighting Paddy. And I just think, again, it looks even worse now that you have Arman who's ready to go. So we'll see how this plays out. I have a feeling the UFC is going to cave and just let Ilia fight Paddy, and then Arman will get screwed over because it's very clear the UFC does not give a lot of rope to Arman, even though he just came off a win right now. So, and if I had to predict, I would say that fight's probably happening in the spring or close to the summer because, like I said, it's not happening in January. I mean, it's too close for comfort here. But yeah, I feel for Arman here because I don't think Arman should have to fight anyone else. I think he's done enough to earn that title shot. It's unfortunate what happened at UFC 311, but I think he's redeemed himself by getting that win over Dan Hooker. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, just to kind of summarize here, bad look here for Ilia Topuria not wanting to fight Arman Tsarukyan. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? I assume most of you watching this video want to see Arman and Ilia next. We talked about this on my Q&A yesterday about, who you think wins. It's a very close fight there. Does anyone want to see Paddy and Ilia over Arman? Let me know. If you exist, I'd like to talk to you because I think that's very interesting. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.